Hello there guys, and welcome to another episode of Genuine Chit-Chat. This week is the third appearance of Tonya Todd to talk about Wonder Woman 84 and Tonya's new podcast, 52 Love. In addition, I am joined this week by my self-proclaimed co-host and girlfriend, Megan. She often just pops into random podcasts that I'm in, and this is one of them because Tonya wanted to meet her. It was a really cool chat. We started off just talking about Tonya's new podcast, the 52 Love podcast and things, so I won't delve into that because she explains it much better than I could. And then the rest of the podcast is primarily talking about Wonder Woman 84, so there will be spoilers, but the film is not that amazing. When I was talking about it here, I kind of was liking it a bit more, and then since then I've spoken to more people and I've thought about it a bit more, and the film is not great. Although I did still enjoy it, it is heavily flawed. So we talk about Wonder Woman 84, then we talk about superhero films in general, Batman, Loki, Twilight randomly comes up at some point, and then towards the end we talk about Star Wars. So it's very much, if you only want to hear about Tonya's podcast, it's probably the first 15 minutes or so. Then after that we get into Wonder Woman and things. There is ample time, so if you do want to hear of some stuff but you don't want to get Wonder Woman spoiled for you, we don't just blurt out the ending of Wonder Woman 84. We do talk about, what our thoughts were and stuff, so you will get ample time to kind of process or stop the podcast then if you want to wait and listen to this after you've seen it. So there's not much else for me to say, guys, except I've included links in the description to Tonya's website, the 52 Love podcast, YouTube and Spotify channel, and then her Twitter and other social media accounts and things. And for clarity, Tonya did also appear on episodes 97 and episodes 101 of Genuine Chit Chat, so make sure you go check those episodes out too. So yeah, that's enough from me, guys. I'll be back at the end to talk about what's coming up over the next few weeks, what my other podcasts have been doing, and also my numerous guesting, which I think this week I guested on another 3 episodes of podcasts. So if you're interested by all that, make sure you stick around to the end. But yeah, hope you guys enjoy the chat and talk to you then. Welcome to Genuine Chit Chat, where we have honest conversations with interesting people. And I'm your host, Mike Burton. And here we go. And I am here today with Tonya Todd. This is the third time you've been on the show now, Tonya, is that right?
Yes.
Wonderful. And, there's 2 reasons you wanted to come on the show. One reason why you wanted to come on the show and one reason why I wanted you to come on the show. And the reason you wanted to come on the show was to talk about Wonder Woman and for your new podcast. Why don't you tell everyone what your new podcast is called and why you're doing it?
To be fair, we had this set up before I had a podcast, or before I was even thinking about having a podcast. You were just brilliant enough to think, hey, maybe you should mention it since you're here anyway.
That's it.
And I appreciate you for that.
No worries.
All last year, I had a blog called 52 Love. And each week of the year, I would post an intimacy tip to help committed couples just to improve their relationships. And, it was a little ambitious just because I'm not very good at blogging. I'm so busy that it's hard to make yourself write something every week and post it. But that was one of my resolutions for the year, was to stick through it for 52 weeks. That definitely became more challenging as the year progressed because, as we all know, 2020 was not exactly a typical year. It was especially difficult around June, where just the world was exploding in negativity and chaos. And it was just, why am I writing about intimacy when this stuff is happening? This isn't going to change the world. And no one's going to care if I don't write about this anymore. But just, I don't know, divine intervention. People started writing comments to me and emailing me and messaging me about the blog post. Now, I never said anything to anyone about quitting. I was just, I was spiraling into my own depression, which I'm guessing we all did last year. And people just started messaging me all around the same period that it was really nice to have something positive to look forward to with all the negativity and chaos going on. They looked forward. And this wasn't even all people who were in relationships. Many of them are not even in relationships, but they still read it because it was something positive. And so that was enough fuel to keep me going. And by, I want to say, autumn, people started asking me to turn it into a book. And so I asked a few literary agents that I know, or at least had a connection to, if they thought it would be a good idea. They definitely did. And then this other person who is an industry expert, a literary industry expert, really, she does marketing and publishing stuff. But last year, she became a literary agent. I asked her for her advice on how to put together a proposal because I'm a fiction writer. I've never researched how to write a nonfiction proposal because that was never my aim or my goal. So I threw one together, asked her to look at it, and then she asked if she could represent me and take on that book. And then the And I Thought ladies, I do a lot of co-hosting for them. They have a few podcasts. They have Ladies' Tales podcast and the Women's Cave. They just have been so supportive of my career. And after I got the literary agent, they said, now it's time for you to have a podcast. You don't need to co-host for us all the time. And they still invite me to do that, but they were saying, you also need to have your own show. And it was just, why would I do that? And we started chatting about it, and hey, here we are. Why not use this to, they're all about brand expansion, and they do it wonderfully. So this is now an extension of the 52 Love brand. We're going to go through the entire year with each of those tips. But, I could have an episode every week where I sit there and just talk about it for 15 minutes, or I'm an actor and I'm an author. I know all of these interesting people in the literary world and the filmmaking industry. So I'm bringing on couples, sometimes couples and sometimes just one half of the couple, to come on and discuss the tip, have them try it, see how it works in their relationship. But it also gives them an opportunity to plug their work and get a little more exposure. So I'm very excited. I've recorded 3 episodes so far, and I have 2 more scheduled for tomorrow. And among them is the 2 of you.
That's branding. That's how you do it. Cross promotion, collaboration. That's how you spread the Genuine Chit-Chat brand as well. Even though I've got my other podcast as well, which hasn't got my brand attached to it. I just natter on about it right at the very end. Just kind of verbally waterboard about that. But yeah, I mean, it's really cool you start a podcast. And one of the things I find with having a podcast is that you start it often for one reason or another, but it becomes, you want to keep doing it for other reasons. And it's funny that you said about the whole, you were kind of half thinking about stopping to doing the blog in a way, and then you got these messages. I've done that before. I've said to you even, it was, I think it's about a year ago or so, there's just been points where I've been spending a lot of time doing podcasting and things, and, sometimes you just lose steam. And I think I said to Megan about it, and then literally the next day, I got some message from someone random. I think, it wasn't Tony, was it?
I can't remember. I think it was when it was one of the... I honestly can't remember, but I do remember that happening.
Yeah, it was, and it's little things like that. Like, I've thought about stopping podcasting, not fully like I'm going to stop, but just like that thought's kind of come in my head. I'm like, do I want? And then I always, whenever I think that, I get a message from someone or something like that. It's quite weird. It makes me feel like, oh, I'm doing this for some weird, I don't necessarily believe in some other greater power causing this, but it is nice to think if I veer off, something does push me on. So I'm like, I kind of feel like I should be doing podcasting. And I've realized now it's not to get famous or anything, which would be lovely. That isn't the reason I started or anything, but it's just talking to interesting people and doing this. You and I having this conversation now, like we wouldn't be doing that if I didn't have a podcast. Right. Even if, the next however long it's going to be about Wonder Woman, it's like I wouldn't be able to just have a conversation with someone, other than Megan, because she is all my conversations.
Especially in lockdown. I'm the only one Mike gets to speak to. What a dream.
To vent to, yeah. Apart from myself. And then the once a week podcast. That's more or less it, isn't it? Poor you.
Lucky.
And then you get dragged into the podcast world as well.
I am, yeah, co-host.
And here you are. As soon as
co-host the Genuine Chit-Chat.
To be fair, Tonya, you invited her. You specifically said you wanted to sort of meet her and speak with her, so I can't be blamed for that one.
It's because I have the majority of the personality in the relationship, so that's clearly it.
That is it, yeah. That's why I have to go on the internet for gratification from people. The secret is that Megan's the star with all the personality.
I'm the puppeteer. I control Mike.
Nice.
Yeah. I'm just like a diluted version. The world isn't ready for Megan yet. So what's happening is I'm warming everyone up again. Like if you like this, wait till you see what's coming. This is the intro. Megan is starting her own podcast.
No, I'm not. I'm absolutely not. Before that becomes a thing. I don't have the time.
Yeah.
It's like, that's a hard no right now.
I don't have the time and I'm too awkward.
Yeah, you haven't got the sort of social naivety that I have in some ways, which is running into conversations head first sometimes.
I just feel like in a corner, rocking backwards and forwards.
Yeah, you normally do social things.
But you have your own producer right there.
Yeah.
That would be a good way of having even less time with me to like watch TV and play video games and stuff. If you just started getting sick of me, like, I could start my own podcast. Then Mike would be off editing all my shows for an extra few hours a week.
Just put a lot of uhs and ums in there, and then he would be doing it all day.
Pay him with baked goods.
I mean, that'd be good. You do make fantastic fudge, to be fair. So you're making over. That sounded really weird. Over Christmas, Megan made fudge and shortbread for people.
Yeah,
it was absolutely incredible. But with your podcast, I assume you've been enjoying it the first few weeks you've done it thus far?
Yeah, I'm still in the honeymoon phase, and I still get to hold your hand and hold my producer's hand and hold my agent's hand. I'm not really on my own yet.
Just like, there's a problem, quick.
I have these wonderful resources that are helping me, but I am enjoying it so far. The most stressful thing has just been the scheduling, because I have to make sure that it's not just my schedule, it's the guest schedule, but also my producer's schedule. And that takes a lot of juggling sometimes.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But I'm getting ahead of it, and we'll be okay. Once this weekend is done, I will be far enough ahead of it that I can breathe and not have to stress on, I need to produce something for next week.
That's what I try and do sometimes. I got into the habit, though, of, it was sort of mid last year, I think. I just booked so many podcasts, just because some of my podcasts are 1-ish hours and some are nearer 2 hours. And sometimes it just depends on the guest, maybe even how tired I get in a conversation. There's a variety of things. And it's just like, sometimes they're shorter than others. So they're either, if they're quite long, I release them in 2 parts. And that means that it gives me an extra week, essentially. And it's normally quicker to edit because there's slightly less of it. And I've already written the show notes and all that sort of jazz for sort of the first one. I need to spin some things around for it. So in that sort of realm, it's
that's the real reason we end up rambling so long. You're like, you know what? I could get 2 shows out of this.
Sometimes it gets to, 1 hour 10. And I'm like, if we just chat for another 10 minutes, I'd have 2 weeks worth of not having to release a podcast. That's it. That's pure. No, I don't.
He's bamboozling everyone.
I generally don't time watch unless there's like a specific reason. Normally, I just kind of feel for the podcast. You can normally tell with a guest generally when they start to run out of steam a little bit. So it's kind of up to me, because certain guests I think are so polite and nice, they would probably talk to me for 4 hours because they'd be too polite to say, can we stop now? I'm done. So there is that degree of being like, okay, it's fine. But how your podcasts are only 15, 20 minutes, aren't they?
Right.
Is that meant to be the specific plan?
Yes, it is. We're just plugging their work and briefly discussing the tip. I'm not trying to hijack anybody's time. And I'm not someone who loves just talking and talking and talking about myself.
I mean, this is the third appearance on my show, which that's all we do, basically. So my guests have got a different
second view. Appearance, we just talked. We did zero promotion about me, and we only talked about comics and movies. True.
Yeah, but they were your opinions on them, though, so...
That's true.
Yeah. Got you there. Well, why don't we dive right into that, because Wonder Woman 84 has been out, and we watched that yesterday, was it?
Yeah, we watched it yesterday.
Yeah, because it was part of WandaVision today. We watched 1 episode, there's 2 episodes out. Have you watched WandaVision out of interest?
Yes, I have. I watched both episodes.
Yeah, we were going to, and then we were like, it would be too close for time. So we're glad we did, because it would have been late, or slightly more late. So yeah, I've watched the first episode, but I feel like the second episode's going to be a bit more, but it's interesting. But yeah, I watched Wonder Woman yesterday. So why don't you take us away? You were telling us before recording that Wonder Woman you think is better than Shawshank Redemption. It's probably the greatest film ever made. You think it's a triumph beyond recognition, and we're all sat here thinking it was very flawed. But Tonya, why is it your favourite film?
Stop it. I'm going to end this right now.
It's Catwoman and Wonder Woman 84. That's Tonya Todd's 2 favourite films.
Will you smack him for me?
Done.
Thank you.
If you could hear that, if the listeners could hear that, I'm not editing that out. I'm going to amplify that. Use that as abuse. But yeah, sorry. Anyway, your opinion on Wonder Woman, I have interest.
It's actually kind of heartbreaking, because I had high hopes for this film, and I'm an author and a filmmaker of sorts. I don't enjoy trashing someone's work. It hurts me to say negative things about this, but it was really bad. I mean, it was quite terrible.
Yeah, it wasn't the greatest film.
It's one of those films that I I enjoyed it for the most part, but it is very flawed, and I wouldn't watch it again. It's one of those things where there's certain aspects of it I did enjoy, and because I was kind of clinging on to them and more so thinking, where's this going to go? When it ended, I was like, I'm glad it's over. There was a lot of problems with that film, but for watching it for the first time, I was kind of like, I'm not going to watch this. Not in a thrill to watch this again.
Before I watched it, I had a friend send a text that said, have you watched Wonder Woman yet? I really want to talk about it. And that was the text. And that made it sound like, oh, it must be good. And he's usually pretty critical about films. So I thought, great, it's going to be wonderful. He wants to talk about it. And halfway through the film, I was just, does he want to talk about this because of how bad it is? Because nothing is happening. There was that really cool sequence at the beginning. I loved the flashback, but it had no value to the rest of the film. That theme never made its way into the rest of the film. You could piece it together, patch it, with a Band-Aid and some string and maybe find a path to it. But if you have to do that, then you didn't make it work, If your viewer has to do all of that work to make it connect, then you didn't do your job as a filmmaker.
Yeah, because I was like, I was really cocky. I was like, Mike, I know what's going to happen. I figured it out. I hadn't. So I thought that she was going to get to see her family again because of the fact that they did that flashback at the beginning. I was like, she's going to be able to see her family. They had the flashback. Like, she's going to be able to reunite and she's going to become the thing that she, wants to be or whatever. And then Mike was like, oh, I don't think that's going to happen. And then I was like,
you think it makes more sense for her to wish to see her family that she knew for years and made her into the woman that she is, and they started the film with, rather than this guy she knew for 2 weeks?
Yeah, right. And then it happened, and then the watch started moving. I was like, nah, Mike, you're right. I was like, you're right. It's going to be about the boy. It's always about the boy. I was really excited to see all the Amazonians.
But then it really wasn't about him. It was just about his spirit and some other guy's hijacked body. This guy who could have his own relationship. He might not even enjoy being with women. What happened to this person's life? Are they not going to address this or how wrong this is?
That's what
they
we said
never
as well.
even address it.
No, it was really weird because we were like...
The Stranger Things, wasn't it? It was almost in the sunken place.
Yeah, it's just he had just disappeared. What happened to him? This other guy had just taken over this guy's body, and then this one other person has just suddenly disappeared off the face of the earth.
So why didn't they just make it him? Why didn't he just...
Exactly.
The
odd. Wishing Stone can do all this other stuff, but it can't put his real spirit back into his real body. Why is this a limitation?
It does seem pretty peculiar when the world starts to end and those gigantic walls get brought up around all of that country.
I just found it really confusing, to be honest. A lot of the time I was kind of just looking at it I don't actually fully understand what's going on right now.
Because they didn't know either.
Yeah.
I'm going to quote what that friend said. He said, if he could talk to the filmmakers, he would say, don't do this shit again, ever. This is why Marvel is kicking the shit out of DC, because they can tell a compelling story and actually write well. Wonder Woman is a shit show with the one good 10-minute sequence and 2 nice outfits. It's like the rhyming dictionary of movies. Did they just use a random segue generator to write this? It's like they gave a 5-year-old with ADHD a notepad and said, go nuts, young dude. So
pretty brutal.
Pretty brutal.
I mean, speaking of 5-year-olds, there was that scene that was just in the middle of the desert, and she was... I can't remember the guy. Is it Jack? What's the pilot's name?
Steve.
There you go. I know it's some sort of standard name. Steve, he shoots the rocket and she lassos it and somehow puts all her weight on it, which makes no real sense, but then uses that to then swoop down and pick up those children who are in the road, who somehow didn't see or hear all those armoured vehicles coming, shooting rockets and things, while in the middle of the desert, and they were still just playing in the road. And it's and then a lot of the CGI was a bit off.
Yeah, I said that to you partway through the film. I found the CGI really, really, cheesy and just fake.
It was terrible.
Yeah.
That was another comment my friend made, was that they ended up using era-appropriate CGI. It's in 1984, let's use 1984 CGI.
Yeah, there was one bit where the, weird Catwoman person,
Leopard, I think her name is.
Well, whatever she is.
Do not say that. She is not Catwoman.
Weird feline person, jumped on a pole and like swung around a pole, and it just looked so fake. In the Smithsonian, I think they were still in the museum at that point.
Well, a big question about it I have is how does... when I was watching this, I was like, oh, because of the start, I was like, oh, it's going to explain what she's done with the legacy of sort of the Amazonians. Like, what's she done there? She gone back, and it turns out they're not all dead, but they let her back in because even though she left, they kind of want her back for some reason. Has she got a relationship with them? Does she send them letters? I don't know. But it was just like, oh, we literally don't talk about that at all. It was just that whole massive thing. And then she's working in a Smithsonian as some sort of senior person there. Somehow she got there with, I don't know how she got her sort of passport and any of these other sort of bits and pieces. How long has she been in the human world, the normal world? All that time, 66 years? Has no one queried her age? Like, there's all these questions that you're just like, what have you been doing for like 66 years? How have you got there? How have you got access to a fighter jet?
It is odd that they jumped so far in time to the 80s.
And then there's not real... The 80s didn't almost have any semblance on what was happening. Like, what was happening could have almost happened.
It's like you're saying the movie didn't make sense, Mike.
My main issue with it is, I'm sorry, but how the fuck can you lasso lightning and then use it to swing across like Spider-Man? I was watching it and I was like, I just don't understand how that is happening right now. Like, that's not possible. And suddenly she can fly. I was like... I had to look up after what Wonder Woman's superpowers were, because obviously in the first film she doesn't fly, and I don't have any I
didn't know that she could fly. So
I don't read comics.
I've seen her fly in the cartoon versions.
Yeah, I thought she did fly, because I think I've seen like posters of her where she is flying. But that was
one I forgave. Like, I forgave that one because it is possible to discover powers you didn't know you had.
Yeah, but the lassoing of lightning bolts.
The whole invisible jet thing. Oh, by the way, I have this power that I haven't mentioned in any other DC movie ever. Like, I've been in other movies, never mentioned this, had all that opportunity in the 45 minutes leading up to this moment to mention it, didn't. But this thing I tried once in 40 years and could only do it well with a coffee cup. I'm just going to use it perfectly right now with no impetus of stress that's going to bring it forth. It's just, let me just try it. Hey, that worked. The whole jet.
Also, how it stressed me out that Steve knew how to fly planes from 70 years in the future.
Right.
Because I was like, arguably, yeah, the controls would be similar-ish, because like it's the same with old cars, like they're similar-ish. But technology has evolved massively since World War One,
isn't it? That's what
and 1984.
And on the road, you have the safety of, not being in the air if you screw this up.
Yeah. But he flew it perfectly.
And how was this jet just ready to go? And
that's what you said. How did they have access to it?
Yeah, how is it that she... What is her stance in the world? Like, also, she doesn't wear any superhero sort of disguise. She obviously went out into the mall, and she destroyed a few cameras and things. But
and
it's like...
shushed a few kids.
Yeah, shh. Don't tell
right,
anyone.
But look at her. Like, she's stunning. You're going to notice this woman.
Yeah, that was, you said that several times, and I agree with you. In the film, watching the film, is just like she's just incredibly.
She's absolutely beautiful.
Not only obviously is her face and her body, which I'm not trying to objectify or anything.
Those legs, okay.
I think, mine's her face. I just think her face is almost like I compare her to almost like the Chris Hemsworth of women in that way, because I think
far
Chris
more
Hemsworth,
attractive than Chris Hemsworth.
Maybe, but for me, I just think Chris Hemsworth and Bradley Cooper for me are the two.
Mike does love Chris Hemsworth.
Those are your guy crushes.
I have many guy crushes. Yeah, it's.
I'm more of a Loki girl, so I'm prejudiced against Chris Hemsworth. I'll root for him. Of all the Avengers, I'm going to root for him because he's the Asgardian, and I'm not immune to the eye candy factor, but I'm a little
it's about what draws me in, even though he is your favorite Marvel character.
Thor is my favourite Marvel character.
I don't think is it for the six pack? Does that just help?
No, I just like Thor. I mean, like thingy, what's his name? Captain America has a six pack, but I don't like him.
I love Cap.
So,
but he doesn't have a British accent, so you're probably immune to that.
Yeah, they just sound the same as I do.
Well, that's not so fancy to you.
Although Hermione Granger, so obviously Emma Watson, I notice her accent quite a lot because she's quite well spoken.
Yeah, but she's got a posh accent.
Yeah, I do like
her
her
accent.
notes.
Yeah, it's nice.
And this is the end. It was great. Her just talking with all like Seth Rogen, all those guys are all very American with her accent. It kind of reflected off that.
Yeah, I find the weird thing is that when it's a British person in American films, the British person always sounds super British. And then when it's a British film with one random American person, the American accent just sounds super American.
Yeah, I noticed that in an episode of Sherlock. And I was this is years ago. I was watching Sherlock with someone, and he's whole, what is wrong with the way that guy talks? Like, he's American. He's an American character on the show. That's what's wrong.
There's also one thing I noticed with Wonder Woman is that I did maybe think of accents because of Pedro Pascal to some degree. I loved Pedro Pascal in Wonder Woman 84 in a sense of I found that the one thing, the main reason I actually did enjoy Wonder Woman 84, I will say, is regarding the concept of it. I quite like the idea. Like the main problem is it's not a Wonder Woman film. It didn't need to be DC. This is just a cool-ish idea for a film of a modern day monkey paw with wishes. Like I like the idea. This would be a great Indiana Jones film. Just swap Wonder Woman out for Indiana Jones. That you've actually got a really cool film there. But because you don't really know that a lot of the aspects of it just don't fit in the film, and the other parts are just not greatly done. So it's more so like I just found that the story I enjoyed, but the rest of it, like, what did you each think of the general idea of the wish thing?
It was alright. It got really...
be honest.
No, it was fine. I thought the concept was good, like having a wishing stone like that, and I thought the idea of him becoming it so that he could get what he wanted by granting other people's wishes was fine as well. But the problem is that it just got really confusing with who he was talking to, what they were wishing for, and what his actual goal was. Like, I don't even know what his ultimate goal was. Like, surely, like, becoming the wishing stone was his goal. But then after that, like, he must have another one, but I don't actually know what it was. Yeah.
It is confusing in that regard. That is what, like, the ending wasn't amazing. What do you think, anyway?
Nothing was amazing, except how spectacularly bad things were.
I mean, I did find it funny that they were like, hey, here's this amazing armor that we'll make a big fuss about, and then it appears and it gets destroyed almost immediately. And you're like...
Yeah, it's supposed to be armor that, like, can beat, like, a whole... fucking army, and then this one guy is like bashing at it. Oh, no, girl. It's that woman. One girl's bashing at it. Who
asks to be an apex predator, and then they make her into a cat that is not. A cheetah is not ferocious. They are timid. They are fast, and all they do is use their speed to stay out of trouble and to catch their food. They don't threaten other animals. And it's not that they're not smart, but they're smaller than the other cats and the other beasts, they live alone. That is not the cat to make an apex predator. And speaking of cats, they have all these dead cat bodies all over this movie, which was very upsetting for me. I don't enjoy seeing cats in taxidermy. And I thought, okay, this is going to be her motivation. This is going to be her villain motivation, is that there are furs everywhere. But no, she just starts wearing fur and wearing snakeskin. And excuse me, how are we supposed to be on board with her being, like, her motivation made no sense either.
No.
I get that she wanted to be more like this beautiful woman, but they didn't even really establish her as being particularly wonderful a person. She was fine. There wasn't anything really bad about her. She was just kind of average.
Yeah. I mean, at the beginning, it was just Kristen Wiig playing Kristen Wiig, wasn't it? Right. It was the same character that she plays in, like, Bridesmaids, like the quirky friend.
Saturday Night Live, like, just... Yeah. The way she was talking is like, yeah, I know that character. And she plays it very well. She's very fun to watch.
Yeah.
The acting in this movie wasn't terrible. I think that they did a good job, but the script was terrible. I mean, I don't know if you realize this, but Independence Day is a pretty big deal over here. And for us to see zero evidence of Independence Day until they're already in the air in this plane, like, hey, by the way, we didn't mention this. There were no fireworks sales anywhere. There were no red, white, and blue anywhere to be seen. Leading up to July, everybody here knows that it's about to be Independence Day. But there is zero reference to this until they've stolen this plane. And hey, fireworks, isn't that romantic? No, it's stupid. It's stupid because there's no way it was Independence Day leading up to this moment.
Also, I feel like flying through the middle of a firework display, first of all,
might be dangerous.
Is dangerous for the plane, but also surely the people that are down at the bottom would be like, what the hell is that? Why is there a plane flying through the middle of the firework display, completely ruining it?
And not to mention, this was in Washington, D.C., so you think maybe at our Capitol there's going to be some evidence of it being 4th of July?
Yeah, and also surely there'd be some sort of security as well.
Right.
Yeah, just Wonder Woman being Wonder Woman. And here's the big thing that is my biggest problem with the film, which is, so in Batman vs. Superman and all the other films and whatever, everyone in the whole world just knows in 1984, everyone basically made a wish and it almost destroyed the entire planet, and everyone just renounced their wish. And then everything
no recognition,
kind of fine,
right? No
but everything was
reference.
still on fire. Like everything was still destroyed. At the end of the film, there was no wish to say our final wish is to wish everything was back to the way it was before he became the Wishing Stone or anything like that. It was just like, oh no, it's been a while. Everything's been kind of destroyed. The president did literally wish for more nuclear warheads to be around all of the enemies, and now they've just all magically disappeared. That's fine. Don't worry.
And also, like, I know the idea is that like people are selfish and the wishes that they want is like for them only, but surely out of all of the people that got like touched to do the wish, surely someone must have done something nice. Like there must have been at least one person that was like, I wish for world hunger to end, but there was like literally no nice thing that happened.
That's what I thought the president was
which makes no sense.
I thought the president was going to say world peace, and in doing that, it would somehow like destroy major nations across the world, like do some, that sort of thing of, oh, world peace. Okay, the world's going to end now because that's the only way you get true world peace with no conflict of any kind. That would
no
be cool.
people.
I was like,
that's what creates world peace is no people.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was going to be, and I was like, oh, this is going to get dark. And then it was like, oh, yeah, that was the only thing he could possibly want. What, loads
More
of
nuclear
weapons?
weapons.
Like, what?
And
What
why
is
could
this?
those disappear in the air, but you couldn't clean up the mess that was on the ground?
Yeah.
Why were only
Exactly.
some things reversed? Like, oh, okay, there's still chaos on the ground and, the world is destroyed ground level, but the nukes disappear. They just vanish.
I want to know about that wall. I think, I can't remember what it was. Was it Saudi Arabia? Or maybe
Cairo.
Man, I'm terrible with geography.
I am surprised I remember.
That's good. I'm awful. Sorry, listeners. But that wall that appeared, like, if there was anyone's house or anything of possession near that, what if someone's standing when that
It's just stuck at the top of the wall.
No, and then it drops again and they just fall to their death. Well, that's the, are they still, like, well, all the
Wasn't
people...
it a good thing that everyone in the entire world not only spoke English, but was watching television at the same time, no matter what time of day it was there?
It's very convenient.
It is. It's good. It's part, it's why this film is your favourite. It's just so good. It is upsetting because of how, like, what did you think of Wonder Woman, like, the first one? Like, what was your...
I enjoyed it a lot until the crappy CGI at the end. Like, why did we have to have another CGI battle? They had a good storyline going on. There was action in it, and you cared about what was happening. It was really fun to watch, so I had high expectations for this one.
Yeah, and you didn't enjoy... I think I liked Wonder Woman 1 more than you did.
I honestly don't remember anything about it. We've watched the Honest trailer earlier. I'm really, really bad with films. Like, for me to actually remember what's happened in a movie, I have to watch it a good few times.
Depends on the film, but yeah.
It does depend on the film, but
All the superhero ones merge into one.
Yeah, they do, though. But, like, with Wonder Woman, we watched the Honest trailer for it earlier, so I kind of got reminded, and I was like, actually, yeah, I did enjoy this film. And like,
Good idea. I should have done that.
With the second one, it just annoyed me because Wonder Woman's supposed to be this like independent woman who can fend for herself and she's strong and blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, and here's my boyfriend from 70 years ago. Like, he's back.
Also, she almost lets the entire world end.
Yeah, because she doesn't want to give up the guy, which, like, I get, but it's just like, come on.
But she's better than that. They did not do her justice.
No.
No, it is. And the thing is, in the first film, some of the action parts, like when they climb over the trenches and they run out onto no man's land, that's amazing. In this film, you're watching it, and I felt it was really silly. A lot of the action, especially at the start, it was just kind of, it's either be gritty.
It was campy, and it's like, if that's going to be the film you're doing, make that your series. I had no problem with Shazam. That was silly, but that's it sold you on silly. It didn't say, we're going to make this really cool film, and then you get there and it's silly. No, silly is fine. Do it well. This did not do it well.
Yeah, it was just gimmicky. A lot of the like fighting was gimmicky.
It was very long as well. It was 2.5 hours,
film.
and I feel like almost every scene could have had about 5 or 10% shaved off. Like even the sad scenes, there was like, you know, the camera would look at one person, then the next, and after the sort of second or third cut, you get the gist. But it does it about another 4 times, and you're like, I don't need to see these two people looking at each other sad anymore because they're thinking about how. And it's like,
but it's also like with the whole Steve coming back and it being in the 80s, and obviously for him it's going to be mental because technology's evolved and everything's evolved. So bits of that I really did enjoy because it made me laugh. Like the bit where he sees the astronaut in the science museum and he's like, oh my god, it's like I enjoyed it.
That's fair. Like that would be amazing.
Yeah, but a lot of it did just drag on for a bit. Like in the Honest trailer that we watched, he sees like the trash can and he's like, oh, what's this? And it's like, well, it's a bin. Like, you know what a bin is. You had them in the 1980s. Like, no, 1918.
Yeah, 10s it would be.
Oh yeah, it would have been World War One.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But yeah, it is one of those things that is silly. And I like those sillier parts. The end where it was just a big CGI battle again, it is just... That's the big problem I have with... have you seen Man of Steel?
Yes.
Yeah. I haven't shown that to Megan. I don't
think it's a good Superman movie. It's a great alien invasion movie. It's not a good Superman movie.
I felt like the first half of it was amazing because I love the whole... the way that DC are trying to go, which they kind of did with the Nolan verse, with the Dark Knight trilogy, is going, let's do gritty. Let's do superheroes, but actually let's have them be realistic in a sense. And the first half of Man of Steel was like, oh man, this is a guy who's isolated and is feeling alone. He's got these powers. He doesn't know what to do with it. This could be a really complex, dark story. And then you get about 2/3 through and it's just him and another one from his species just punching each other through buildings for about an hour, and you're like, this is... because they're so silly and strong, it's not like a real fight. So it's not like when you watch like a martial arts film and you watch two people who have got great choreography fighting each other, and each hit you see more makeup is added, and it becomes... Even like Captain America does it quite a lot in the MCU, with his sort of fighting, you feel the punches. Or you're watching like Superman and Zod just wailing out on each other, and every punch just doesn't make anything change, really. They get a bit dustier, and it's just that
there are no stakes.
Ages. No, and then the ending is just so unsatisfactory, and it's just like, why didn't you do that to begin with? I don't want to say what happens specifically because I maybe should make them one day, but it's just rough.
I think I've just learnt that I'm not a huge fan of DC, to be honest, because we've been watching all of the Batman movies.
Don't say you're not a fan of DC. It's just their DC movies are not.
Okay,
cool.
so the DC
exception of the Nolan films. Okay.
Yeah,
I haven't seen all of them yet. I've only seen the first two so
it's
far.
Batman Begins and Dark Knight. Because we're doing my friend of mine called Scott Weatherly. They should be releasing, part 1 should be releasing soon. We're doing a 3-part podcast on his show on 20th Century Geek, and we've gone through and watched like all the Batman films. I think I might have messaged you when we watched Batman Returns, I think, because Catwoman was on. So yeah, we watched those ones. We watched the 2 Burton ones, the 2 Schumacher ones, Mask of the Phantasm, and then we've watched Batman Begins, Dark Knight, and we're due to watch Dark Knight Rises in the next couple, probably tomorrow actually, because we're doing the podcast on Thursday for that. So we've been watching all of these. So Megan's been kind of, I wouldn't say getting into them, but
I'm not getting into them, no.
You've enjoyed
getting exposed to them.
The thing with Batman is the more Batman films that I've watched, I realise that I don't actually like Batman that much. So there are films that I do enjoy. You're wearing a Batman t-shirt now.
There's an explanation more so.
I do. There is a reason. I do like a lot of the films. My problem is when they try and introduce too many villains and then it kind of gets lost away with them, and I'm just getting a bit like, I just want to learn more about Batman and that rather than being thrown the same villains over and over and over
again. It's either that or because you said that you like Dark Knight because Joker's convincing and really interesting.
Yeah, but also you learn more about the Joker, and his like arc in that film develops. So you learn more about the character and you see like how he does things. Whereas like with the first one, what's it called?
Batman Begins.
With Batman Begins, I just found it quite convoluted because you didn't really learn that much about the baddie.
It was Scarecrow, wasn't it?
Scarecrow just suddenly appeared, and I was like, why has he got a potato sack on his head? Like, it doesn't explain anything. Whereas like Joker is like got some character, but I don't know.
I think also we got a bit Batmaned out, essentially.
I think it's because we've had to watch them for the podcast. So because we've had to watch them, it's been more of a chore than it being for enjoyment.
I can see that for the Schumacher films, but you'd think that once you hit Batman Begins, it would be a breath of fresh air. Like, oh, thank you, a movie.
I did enjoy it, and Dark Knight is my favourite. Yeah. I enjoy that one. Which one's the Schumacher ones?
The Schumacher ones are the Batman,
terrible
Robin,
ones.
Batman Returns.
Oh my god, yeah.
No, not Batman Returns.
Sorry, Batman Forever.
Wait.
Because it's the first two Batman ones is with Michael Keaton. You got Jack Nicholson as the Joker. You enjoyed that.
There's so many of them. And, no, I enjoyed those.
And you enjoyed the one with Danny
films?
DeVito as the Penguin.
Yeah, I liked
Michelle
that one.
Pfeiffer as Catwoman.
Yeah,
so they're the two that you did enjoy.
Yeah, I enjoyed
you've never
those.
seen them before.
Those are the Tim Burton ones.
Yeah, I liked them. So then the Schumacher ones are the.
Well, then there's Batman Forever.
The ones with the Robin in it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they're trash.
Agreed.
Yeah, they were crap.
Yeah. And then you did say that when you watched Batman Begins, you said you did enjoy it.
I did enjoy it.
You were confused, and you asked me questions about Scarecrow, and I was like, I don't know the answers to this. Because it was just like, why is Scarecrow doing this? And I was like, I can't really remember. And then it just turns out, they're going to hold the whole city at ransom. And it's like, that's a pretty big, convoluted plan for something. You're doing that complicated for some money. It's like, I know Scarecrow from the games a little bit and some various other media, so I kind of got it more. But trying to explain to Megan, it's just kind of...
Yeah, I think.
You know what? I think you're right. If you're not already well versed in the universe,
it doesn't explain much. So for me, I'm just like, I don't understand what's going on. I don't understand. But obviously, if you're someone that's played the games and you enjoy reading the comics and all of that stuff, you obviously have a more in-depth idea as to all of the different characters and why they're like that. So the films make more sense for those people. But otherwise, I don't think they do a very good job at explaining it to like beginners, so to speak. Whereas like Marvel, they obviously all have a film that explains their origin story. So you learn about that character and then you fall in love with those characters as the different films go on. Whereas I feel like with Batman, specifically Batman, it's just kind of chop and change because there's like 3 different series of 3 different versions of Batman.
Because we watched Batman 66 as well.
Yeah.
Slightly different. But it kind of depends because obviously, I think with Batman it is... Because his character, he is cool, but the comics go into a lot of depth to him and the way his relationship with a lot of the Bat family is really interesting. And the Schumacher films don't do a great job of that. And although I like Christian Bale's Batman, by that point, he doesn't show necessarily any new sides to Batman. He's just a cool version of Batman. So there's not a huge amount of depth there. So you saying when you watch Dark Knight is, as you say, the reason you love Joker is because there's a lot of depth to him and it's that one character. But because he's obviously Two-Face comes in it and that is interesting as well, but it's not like he's a villain from the start. Whereas, when we were watching Batman Forever with Jim Carrey and Two-Face in that was just
painful.
It was just them yelling, basically trying
it's
to. It's
just them trying to be the loudest person in the room.
Yeah, so that was.
That was a very disappointing film.
Yeah, I'd only seen them each of the old school Batman films like once, ages ago. I remember Danny DeVito's Penguin and liking that. That's probably my favourite one of those 4. I'd say. What's your favourite? I assume that one as well because of Catwoman.
Right. Because that one was made specifically for me because it's my favorite actress in my favorite outfit playing my favorite role. That was God's gift to me. He said, meow.
And I have interest with the Marvel films. Like, what... I can't remember if we've talked about this, but your favourite Marvel films and other such like.
I love the original Avengers film. That has so few slow moments in it, and the slow moments need to be there. You know, it's a breath rather than a boring moment. The pacing is just wonderful. It goes from one really cool scene to the next really cool scene. And it does a great job of introducing these characters to each other. It could have been a colossal screw up with, okay, we're going to put all these different characters in the movie. And it could have been great or it could have been stupid. And it was great. I really enjoyed it. And it's not just because of Loki, because Loki was in Ragnarok and I don't love that movie. I enjoyed it, but I don't love it.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, that's my favorite.
That's what.
Well, but it's silly. Favorites. Their whole world is ending. Some characters from the original movie are dying. His best friends are dying. His dad dies. And they're like, yeah, but, fart joke. What?
I loved it. I thought that's why I liked it so much. With me, like when it gets
it just
dark,
didn't do do the original justice. And I love the original Thor because it's, that's a Shakespearean tale. It's about fathers and sons.
Did you like Thor too much then?
I liked some of it, but I didn't like it as an overall movie.
I wasn't as much of a fan.
Because I'm a Loki fan, I love the Loki parts of it. But I think overall as a film, it wasn't great. But it's not like this movie, Wonder Woman 84. It wasn't terrible. I would absolutely.
So much anger.
At the end of this, I had to ask, would I rather have to watch this crap again, or would I shouldn't say that, but I was very upset because I wanted to like it so much, but I had to ask myself, would I rather watch this again, or would I rather watch Captain Marvel, which I did not enjoy.
That's a good point. I think
that is a good point.
I think I enjoy both of these films fairly evenly to being... I generally like stuff a bit more when it comes to films. There are a handful of films I do generally hate, but most of the time when it's a film that isn't great, I don't think it's terrible. I'm normally like, I probably won't watch it again, but I don't hate it enough that if Megan loved it, for example, I could watch it again. But I'm not going to choose to watch it again, maybe ever. I mean, maybe when we have kids, if they want to watch, depending on the
I'll be like, no.
Be like, your mum hates this film, okay? We won't watch that. We'll wait till she goes to bed. We'll watch this one. And then, whereas with Thor Ragnarok, you'll be like,
come on, guys, we'll watch it 3 times in a row.
So we don't even like Thor. It's like, you're grounded.
And again, that's not a bad film. It's just a bad Thor film to me.
That's fair.
Yeah.
It depends what you like out of Thor. Like, for me, I loved it because, for me, the humour hits. And I like Thor, but he's not my favourite character. My favourite moment in Thor is in Thor 1 when he throws thing on the thing on the floor. Another! Like, him, for me, and then... So I just love silliness, and I think Marvel, for me, I like it when it's got the silliness, because I find then when you get films like Endgame, Infinity War, or even kind of like Captain America 2, Winter Soldier, with the films that are more serious, you've got that spectrum a lot more in Marvel films. So you can have Guardians of the Galaxy, Ant-Man, and now Thor are the sillier ones, but the other ones are more serious. And I like...
Guardians of the Galaxy was silly. I had no problem with that. I thought that was a great movie. And it didn't feel like why are they being all funny? This is a serious universe. No, that did a wonderful job. And I felt like Thor Ragnarok was trying too hard to be like that. Let them be that. You stick with being Thor.
Well, now the next film's going to be a combination, I think. It's either... Are
you giving me spoilers?
You know how the relationship they set up in the last 2 films. There's going to be some... I have
suspicions, but I am avoiding any talk of it.
But you know of the comics, don't you? You know there are... There's no confirmation, okay? But have you seen the comics as Guardians of the Galaxy?
I have not read them, but I have seen them.
So you know that's a possibility.
I know it's a possibility. And I think that they did a great job of, dealing with Thor's character in that group. I mean, that's one of my favorite scenes in those movies.
What do you think of Endgame and Infinity War in general?
In general, they were both great films. There are moments that I really dislike in Infinity War. The way they handled Loki was just disgusting to me. Come on, they set up from the beginning how clever he is, and he's going to come at him with like a 2-inch dagger. That's his big I'm going to betray you moment. That doesn't even make sense for his character. It's just like, oh, okay. I thought he should have gone out as a hero. I was okay with him dying, but the way they handled his death was terrible to me. They did not do his character justice. And then when he died, he didn't turn blue. Like, come on. That whole thing was an illusion. How are we supposed to believe he's really dead if he doesn't look like his true form?
Yeah, that's a fair point.
And then they went with silliness in the next scene. It was like, you know what? I will never enjoy this scene. Every time I watch it, I don't enjoy the the Hulk is on Earth and Tony Stark thinks he's funny. And he is. I do like Tony Stark, but I can't enjoy that moment right after Loki's death because of how poorly they handled it. And that was so disappointing because the Russo brothers are excellent filmmakers. Why would they do that to him? It's like, but they like Captain America. That's their favorite character. Loki, they don't care about.
Yeah, Loki, he died when, right at the beginning of the film, didn't he? So yeah. I hadn't seen all of the Marvel movies until the first lockdown here. So we watched them at some point between March and July of 2020.
In the abyss.
Not a bad way to spend 2020.
No. So we watched all of the films, and I didn't know anything about it. Like, I, for some crazy miracle, had not had anything spoiled for me. I knew that I was going to be watching them, so even when like my students were talking about it, I'd be like, if you carry on, I will give you a detention. Like, do not spoil it for me. And they're like, are you joking? And I'm like, do you really want to test it? Like, I will give you a detention. So I literally knew nothing apart from there was something to do with this. So I knew that there was a click, but I thought it was Loki. I was under the impression that it was Loki that did it.
And I knew she thought that.
And Mike knew that, but he didn't. He wanted me to carry on thinking that so that I didn't know what actually happened. So when Loki died, I was like, well, he's not dead, is he? Because he's going to do the click. So the rest of this film, I was waiting for Loki to turn up, and then he didn't do it. And I was like, Mike, is Loki actually dead? And he was like, yeah, he died. And I was like, but I thought he did the click. And he was like, yeah, I know you did. And I was like, but I didn't get to like mourn his death. And he was like, no.
Right.
Because I had this impression that...
You had to mourn it the second one.
Yeah, when we watched it the other day, we rewatched it, and I was like, okay, well, here you go, Loki. Here's your time. I'll appreciate your character, because I know that you're not going to come back.
And then it was literally about that week that the Loki series was fully...
Yeah, and then the Loki series was announced.
Anyway, last year, but the trailer dropped for it.
Yeah.
And then watched the trailer.
There's a Loki series?
Well, yeah.
I'm just kidding. I know.
I was like, wait a minute. Is this going to be a trick? Can I not talk about any even
I just wanted to see your face.
Yeah, but obviously you haven't seen the trailer, and I won't say anything that happens in the trailer.
I have not seen the trailer.
But the good thing is that I was skeptical, and I saw the trailer, and I'm now optimistic. So, yeah, it's going to be...
Well, that's a good sign. But see, because he didn't turn blue, I thought it was another trick. It's like, you know, if you're paying attention, you know he's not really dead. So I didn't get... Like, I was really upset because... all of the dialogue leading up to that moment, as a storyteller, I'm like, oh no, he's going to die right here. Like, you can tell they're building up. He's giving this speech. This is his eulogy right here, you know? And then he pulls out this stupid little dagger and doesn't turn blue. I'm like, well, that doesn't add up. How can he really be dead if he didn't turn blue? So I didn't get a proper mourning either.
So you have to rewatch it.
No, I don't enjoy that scene. It's just
rewatch
I like the speech, but yeah.
That's what I'm going to do. It's like, we'll come over to America, and if we ever hang out, they just put you in a room, and it's just all loads of television screens and just Loki dying on loop.
That's everywhere. Awful.
Why would you do that?
That's so horrible.
And on one screen, it's just the entire Halle Berry Catwoman film playing. So on all the other screens, it's the Loki death. And I'm like,
I would probably have to watch that, because at least there's the eye candy of Halle Berry.
To be fair, I still haven't seen that film. I want to watch it because I know it's so bad, but the problem is it's not so bad it's funny bad. It's just
painful.
Absolutely awful bad. What was the film?
I haven't seen it either, because when I saw that outfit, I was like, nope, I'm not watching a cat hooker film. This is not Catwoman. Hashtag not my Catwoman.
Yeah, but I have interest. Have you seen I can't remember if I've mentioned this to you either, the Batman that's coming out next year. As in the film called The Batman. We did discuss it.
I haven't watched it. Right. I know that it's coming, and I know who's playing Catwoman.
That's why.
But I
couldn't remember I spoke to you.
I'm happy about that. I'm not excited about who's playing Batman, though.
Actually, we are, actually.
Who's playing Catwoman?
Zoe Kravitz. She's the one you'd know from Crimes of Grindelwald, who's that character who's basically just pointless.
Oh, yeah.
But she plays it well, but that character is...
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. But yeah, it's Zoe Kravitz. And then we've got... I'm excited because... I've seen Robert Pattinson in a few things other than Twilight, and he is actually quite good.
And also Twilight is one of the greatest franchises to ever be made, so...
Don't agree with that.
Well, it's one of the most successful. I wouldn't say it's great.
I was obsessed with those films when I was younger, like to the point that I had a picture, like a poster of Robert Pattinson as Edward Cullen.
Oh, wow.
On my bedroom
When he
wall.
Came across the screen, I read the whole series.
Yeah, same.
And while it's not well written, it's still compelling. The story is compelling. You do care about what is happening.
Yeah.
And that is more important than being well written if you want to make any money, you know?
Yeah,
And so when I saw him walk across the screen, it was, no, that's not what I envisioned.
we were rewatching all of the Twilight films.
Rewatching? No, you were rewatching. I'd never seen them.
Mike's never seen the Twilight films, so we watched them with his niece. And I spend the majority of my time ripping into those films. They are so crap. Like, there's so many bits in it that you're just like, I don't understand. Like, there's a whole scene where Bella's trying to get ketchup out of a bottle in the first film, and she's just there shaking it and nothing's happened. I'm like, why?
And she puts it down like
she's like done it, and she's put it down as if she's done it, and we're all like, then no ketchup came out. Like, we saw that.
I watched all those films in the theater because I have a friend, which is funny, it's the wife of the guy who gave the rant, the Wonder Woman rant. His wife really enjoyed the Twilight books, and she, he wasn't going to go to see the movies with her, so I was her Twilight date for all of those movies, and for, I don't remember which one it is where Jacob Black really grows into his body, and just all these old women in the theater drooling over this 17-year-old boy. I was like, this is really creepy.
Yeah.
It was. Yeah, because Amelie's team Jacob, isn't she?
Amelie is team Jacob.
Yeah, and I'm team neither of them.
Mike's team neither of them. When I was younger, was team Edward.
Team Edward from the books, team Jacob in the movies.
Because I still haven't seen the last one, because we entered lockdown just before, because we watched Twilight. We basically, like, each month we'd watch one, and so I've seen up to Breaking Dawn Part 1, so I haven't seen the finale of it. I'm not that enthralled by it, but the first one was horrendous, but the other ones are actually all right.
It's not true. Mike asks to watch them every day. He's like, Megan, should we watch all of the Twilight movies tonight?
When you go to bed, I watch them on the iPad.
That's what you do.
Yeah, I pretend I'm reading Spider-Man comics. I'm not. I'm actually just...
He always gives some kind of tidbit that tells me he has, like, this amazing insight and knowledge about these films, and he hasn't revealed why, and now we know.
Yeah, just shout out a minute. I'll tell you exactly what happens in it. It's perfect. So well I know.
Thought he could talk about Star Wars. Get him started on Twilight, man.
I've got a separate podcast I just don't tell anyone I know about.
The Twilight podcast.
Yeah. I don't know what I'd call it, though, if that was the case. I can't think of anything apart from horrendous stuff, so I'm not even gonna go there. I haven't even seen all the films. I don't even know how it ends. The climactic ending, which I know has a massive scene in it that doesn't happen, but it's good. I'm excited.
Just have to watch it, don't you?
I do. I've said it before. I can't say it on this podcast, but I find it funny that, like, I haven't got a problem with is it Kirsten Stewart?
Kristen.
I always get confused. Kristen Stewart. She is attractive, but by about the third film, when she's around her friends, when you've got Anna Kendrick and the other woman,
that is apparently the least attractive one, so therefore she has to wear glasses.
And it's like, they are much more attractive to me than Kristen Stewart is. So you're just watching it, and then everyone's talking about how Bella's so beautiful and all that stuff, and I'm like, I mean,
it's because she won't close her mouth. It's like, close your mouth. It's not attractive for you to just be walking around like a mouth breather.
Dad's cool in it, though. I like the dad. What's his name?
Charlie,
the one with the shotgun.
Yeah, I mean, he is a police officer, but yeah.
That's it. I know these films really well. The dude with the shotgun.
He's like the sheriff.
Yeah. To be fair, it's been so long because obviously lockdown and stuff. We were out of lockdown briefly over here, and then Hamley came over once, and we watched Scott Pilgrim versus the World instead of Twilight. So I still haven't seen the end. It's killing me. I can't sleep at night. It's because what is going to happen in this film, even though I'm pretty certain I already know. Why don't you
set up like a Netflix Zoom session, I don't even know if it's available on Netflix. But.
It is on Netflix over here.
Netflix, yeah.
Yeah, that's why we've been watching them, because life is a dream. I just wanted to ask you as well, Star Wars Clone Wars, have you been continuing to watch that?
Yes.
How far?
And I'm still enjoying it.
How far are you through?
The last thing was there was a rebellion on this planet that is almost Alderaan, but I think it's Onderon. Like, it's so close that
it is
I was confused at the beginning.
Yeah.
So there's a rebel takeover, and Ahsoka is having feelings.
Oh, yeah, with the
with the boy.
Separatists. Yeah.
With the cute British boy, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do that. Togrutas. That's what happens. Togrutas absolutely love British boys. That's it. Togrutas, the species that Ahsoka is.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, sorry. I thought you'd know. I talk about...
I genuinely don't think I've ever heard that word before.
I've said it to you many times.
You 100% have not.
Whenever we talk about Ahsoka, I bring up her species, just to throw down that Star Wars
to be honest, it goes in one and out the other, because there's so much Star Wars content that Mike talks about.
The amount I know and the amount I say about Star Wars compared to...
Sometimes Mike will get his comic books out and he'll be like, go, who's this? And he'll just point at random characters, and I'm like,
There's a little bit more context to that. And normally when I get comics delivered in the post and I open them, if Megan is nearby, occasionally I will say, do you recognise this character? I don't just be like, right, speed fire around, dive into my comic collection, pull them out. Come on, Megan, name
You'll
all these
have to see if there's a Twilight graphic novel and do the same thing to him.
I'll tell you what's funny though. Did you ever watch Buffy the Vampire Slayer?
Of course I did.
Well, Megan's never seen it, but I've seen all of it, and it's amazing. I think the first series is pretty not amazing. It's quite...
There is a really bad season in Buffy. Like the season 6 was terrible.
Is that the one after
But
Willow
at least we got Dark Willow out of it, you know?
Okay, that is the one. Yeah, I thought so. Dark Willow was amazing, but I remember the plot lines kind of around it were not ideal.
How are you going to make these doofuses the supervillains of the series, or the season? Like, come on.
Yeah. The thing is, I do want to show Megan Buffy at some point, because I seem to recall there's not that many episodes. There's like a few, but like certain American shows, there's like 24 episodes a season, and they're all like
No, I think it is very much like that. It definitely has, especially the first season is the Monster of the Week episodes. It's a slow start, but by the time you get near the second one, it's great.
I think it does. I think the first season is a slog, I recall. I do remember though when Spike comes into it, he's one of my favorite characters.
Yeah, he's wonderful until the thing, and I don't want to ruin it for Megan.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's always been one of those shows that I've like meant to watch, but just never got round to it.
It started out, I did not want to watch it at all. Why do I want to watch something that kills vampires? Like, the star is a vampire killer. It's the vampire slayer. I don't want to watch this. And I had a friend who brought me videotapes of it.
I gave them to my niece that we saw, who she was watching Twilight with.
Recorded them years ago on videotape, and he's like, here, you can have all this. Please just watch the first season, and if you hate it, then I won't make you watch anymore. And I fell in love with it. It was great.
Yeah, it's on the eternal list of things, because I like want to watch Dexter, because you say that's good.
Oh, I fucking love that show.
But Dexter is a lot short. I just looked up, because Buffy is 24 episodes per season, and that is a slog. That's the problem.
That's why British television is so much better. They don't have all that wasted space. They just tell the story that needs to be told, and they don't have to fill, okay, we need something for this week. No, this is what we're doing. This is the story we're telling. Fit it into the spot.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I like about Mandalorian. I know it's not British made, but Mandalorian, 8 episodes
No, but it's
season.
very much like that.
Yeah, exactly. It's like sitcoms as well. Like, I love things like Brooklyn Nine-Nine and that sort of thing. But, like, sometimes when it's 24 episodes in a season, it's like, that is a bit of a slog. Whereas then conversely, you get things like the UK Office, it's 6 episodes, and that's it. And you're like,
yeah, I find sometimes with the UK sitcoms, it's too little.
Yeah,
it's like we're going to give you the stuff that you really enjoy, but we're only going to give you 4 episodes of it. Here you go. I'm like, no, I want more.
That's why
I just don't want 22.
I was afraid to start Clone Wars because of how many episodes. It was like, oh God, I like Star Wars, but this, is it even canon? Like, I didn't know that much about it yet, and I was not excited. And even the first season, I didn't love it, but I stuck with it. And
I warned you. Yeah,
no, you warned me after the fact. You warned me after the fact. You said I would have told you not to watch it. It was too late.
I didn't even know that you'd started watching Star Wars. That's your own doing. I have a Star Wars podcast.
Sorry, am I supposed to report all my Star Wars activities?
Yes. You better not be reading any Star Wars books at all. Like, anyone I know has to tell me. Like, we've got a Discord chat with the guys I podcast with. If they even see a Star Wars image, I know about it, okay?
I'm reading Persuasion, just so you know. That's not Star Wars related.
Is that the Jane Austen?
Yes.
Weirdly enough, that's the mini Jane Austen book we bought. Well, I mean, there's only 6, so I guess it's not that strange. We sent Tony a care package, Tony Farina.
I know who you meant, because he's a bigger Jane Austen fan than I am.
Yeah, he's the biggest in the entire world. That's a fact. I don't know if it is. I've never met anyone else who likes Jane Austen apart from you two, so... Yeah, I mean, there should be people over here. Do you know anyone other than her writing Pride and Prejudice, I didn't really know anything about her.
I know of her. But we went to her house.
Yeah, we did. Because we bought something for Tony while we were there, which is why I mentioned the persuasion thing. They've got little mini books that are like stamp-sized, and there's a certain amount of 100 pages in there, but obviously the writing's tiny, and it's of Jane Austen's works. So we got him a persuasion one and a postcard, and we went there just
Perfect
for him. Oh, we took a Polaroid, didn't we, of her at a desk. A Polaroid of a desk and sent that across them, along with some chocolate orange, because we have really great chocolate over here, and dark chocolate. The dark chocolate, oh my God.
You broke him.
I can't even speak.
You broke him.
I am.
Your accent's getting in the way of your ability to speak.
I think my brain's getting in the way of my ability to speak. I've been yabbering on so much. Anyway, I'm glad you've been enjoying Star Wars. I was also going to say that Rebels is excellent, and that's a bit shorter.
Yeah.
That's next.
I with the Clone Wars series, like, especially with Mandalorian, and for anyone that hasn't watched Mandalorian, this is a spoiler, so stop listening if you are that way. But like with Ahsoka, like for example, my brother has he watches the Mandalorian as well, and when Ahsoka turned up, he was like, "Oh, I'm at the bit where that other Jedi turns up," and I'm like, she's more than just that other Jedi. Like, I was like, but loads of people are not going to know who she is unless they've seen the animated series. So like, there's loads of students at work that know that I watch Star Wars. So they're like, "Oh, did you get the Ahsoka reference?" And I'm like, "Did I get the Ahsoka reference?" Like, of course I got it. And it just makes me sad that loads of people don't know who she is.
So do I need to watch Rebels before I rewatch Revenge of the Sith?
No.
No,
It'll be. I've also got a version of.
What order is it? Where does it fall in the universe?
Rebels is after episode 3, before episode 4. It's about 5 years before Rogue One. It starts about 5 years before Rogue One, and Rogue One is 19
I think you
years.
posted a timeline, didn't you?
Yeah, because in the new series of stuff, the High Republic stuff that's out at the moment, the book's currently out, set 200 years before Phantom Menace, and that's got the prequel era is like the fall of the Jedi, then there's the rise of the Empire, then there's the fall of the Empire. So it's basically Rogue One is 19 years after Revenge of the Sith, and Rebels is like 14 years after Revenge of the Sith, and each season of Rebels is about a year. So it's cracking. The animation style is different to Clone Wars, but
yeah, it does take a little bit of getting used to.
But it is fantastic. I can't decide what I prefer, because Clone Wars I think has some better standout episodes and moments, but Rebels is, in my opinion, a lot more consistent. It's like Rebels is just every episode continues on from the last, like relatively. So it is a lot more together in that way, whereas Clone Wars has the odd arc that's just a bit bland. You can kind of lose your footing a little bit in some ways.
Right, and then there'll be 3 episodes of that, so you're like, oh, we're still in this.
Yeah, normally anything with Jar Jar, you're like, okay.
But he's the best character.
No.
He's honestly the greatest character that has ever been made in any kind of fiction. So
You have to kiss that mouth.
I mean, it's my fault. It's my fault for getting you into Star Wars. I mean, you knew who Jar Jar was before me, but still.
I genuinely, as a child, liked Jar Jar Binks. He was one. I genuinely really liked him.
But obviously, we were like 5 or 6.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Because like I've said this before on podcasts, but like when I think of Star Wars, less so now, I suppose. But when I think of Star Wars, normally I think of the Phantom Menace, because that's the one that I grew up with when I was a kid. So I think of Jar Jar Binks, but like watching it as an adult, I'm like, oh my God, you are insufferable. You are literally the worst thing ever.
And all they had to do was make him the first one killed. Like, just Anakin becomes Darth Vader, and as my first act as Darth Vader, I will end this, and you will all join me. No, he kills the kids instead.
Darth Binkus.
Oh, Darth Binkus. Yeah, the whole. Have you heard that fan theory about?
Well, I have, and I got rid of it again, and I don't want to hear it again. Like, no, we're not going to. No.
Okay,
I've heard it enough to know I don't want to listen to this.
No, I mean, I don't. It's one of those things where it's like, I don't care whether or not it was or wasn't going to be a thing. The character in the first film was written poorly anyway. You know, even if they were going to do that, it's just rough. But last thing, do you prefer Anakin in Clone Wars than to the movies?
Then to the prequels?
Yeah.
I didn't hate him in the prequels the way other people did. Like in the second movie, in episode 2, he's a teenager. Yes, he's whiny and he's dealing with his emotions. And I feel like people are unfair to him because he played him as someone would behave at that age, dealing with all this new rush of hormones, when the only woman you've ever had any kind of feelings for is right there wearing these very sexual outfits and just flaunting herself like
unnecessarily sexual, and
right.
Also they just look uncomfortable.
I don't know about that, but
there was one that was like had pearls on it and she was sleeping.
Of course he's going to act like this. He's 19, you know?
You don't have to convince Megan. That's her favourite part of any Star Wars movie.
I fucking hate Anakin. Oh my God, I hate the second film.
But he is my favorite character in the Clone Wars.
Anakin is.
Yeah, I mean, I'm enjoying his stuff. I love the way they throw in his music every now and like just one little touch, 3 notes here based on a look or a decision that he makes. I'm liking the evolution.
It is excellent.
It gives him more of a character arc. It makes you understand why it happened.
Right.
Yeah, it does. And there's a I can't remember I mentioned, but there's a cut of Revenge of the Sith that I may or may not have in my possession. A fan made it. And it's basically, it's Revenge of the Sith, but with the canon deleted scenes put in there and restored, along with the last 4 episodes of the Clone Wars, which are parallel and time-wise to Revenge of the Sith. But it is 4.5 hours long.
It is long. Very, very long.
So I could always send you a link to that if desired, but if not,
yes,
I understand.
I will definitely watch it. In fact, I'll probably watch it as soon as I finish watching the Clone Wars. Yeah. I wrap that.
Well, that's what we...
That's what we did.
We finished the Clone Wars completely, and so you kind of understand the story of it, and then you can then watch the extended cut of Revenge of the Sith with the last 4 episodes of Clone Wars in again to kind of make an ultimate cement. It's good.
Yeah, I would love that. Thank you.
You give me the look that I've been talking about Star Wars too long. That's the look. I can feel it.
No.
Megan says, what is it, half an hour
I have
a day?
a theory that Mike talks about Star Wars for at least a minimum of half an hour every single day. And that's like excluding podcasts.
Oh, that's including podcasts.
No, it isn't.
I do not. I do not talk about Star Wars that content. Much. When Mandalorian's on, maybe. But when there's nothing concurrent, ongoing.
I don't know. It always comes up when we talk.
So you've got Star Destroyers in the background. Like, what do you want from me? Like, I'm only human. I'm
not complaining about it. I'm just saying she may be right. No one said it was a bad thing. We're just saying it's probably a thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyone who has any vague interest in Star Wars, I just like hearing their opinions on it and things. Even when
you can tell them what's wrong with them?
No. Star Wars... I love Megan to pieces, but she hates Attack of the Clones, and I love Attack of the Clones.
I do hate Attack of the Clones.
I like Attack of the Clones more than I like Phantom Menace. But I find that...
I do too.
But some of my friends say that Attack of the Clones is absolutely horrendous, while Phantom Menace isn't that bad. Whereas I'd argue that if either one's the bad one, then I think Phantom Menace is probably the worst Star Wars film, apart from maybe Rise of Skywalker. I haven't fully decided. That's the thing, I can't...
I feel like you're throwing out some... This is like me in episode 5.
I'm doing my best to keep my mouth shut because we're going to be here for another 3 hours, so...
That's fine. That is fine. But, I mean, is there anything else you want to add to our conversation, then? About...
No, I'm looking forward to talking to the two of you tomorrow on my show to see how you enjoyed the tip.
Third time in a week.
Yes.
And then we have to take like
That's his way of saying he's tired of talking to me. He's tired of seeing my face.
No, it's his way of saying that
Star Destroyers.
It's his way of saying that he's tired of talking to me.
No. I mean, to be fair, I did have a break from you, didn't I? I spoke with Tonya and Francesca.
You did. You're like, good. Bye, Megan. I'm not going to see you for a bit. Yay.
Oh, stop.
Yeah. It's not normally when I do podcasting, you just do exercise or play The Witcher or something.
Yeah.
Sometimes I've done it before. I've come back in. You're like, oh, that seemed like you were quick. I was like, Megan, I've been off for like 2 hours. You're like, I've just been playing around with The Witcher. That's when I've my house.
That's when I've been playing video games. He'll come back in. I'm like, yeah. That was quick. And he was like, no, it's been 2.5 hours. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
got sucked into the video zone.
Yeah,
that's it. I've corrupted her poor soul. But is there anything else you want to add? If not, you can plug your sort of podcast and we can wrap this up.
You think I would be good at this, but this is the hardest part for me, is telling people where to find the podcast, which is on YouTube, the 52 Love Podcast. I only have 2 episodes out, but the next one will be out on Monday. And then it's on Google Podcasts and I think it's Radio Station and Spotify.
Nice. And I'll include links in the show notes. And obviously, whenever the episode that we are due to record airs and whatnot, I'll share on social media, on all the usual places and whatnot. So that is awesome. Well, it's been lovely speaking with you, Tonya. Thank you for your your time. And I'm sure we'll speak to you tomorrow as well for your podcast. Yay.
Thank you for having me again. And I look forward to coming back to talk about Black Widow.
Yes, definitely, whenever that inevitably releases, because that's the one you're more excited for, isn't it, Megan?
And let's hope that it's a better conversation, because
I just want there to be a female-led superhero movie that's not crap.
Right.
That would be quite nice.
Right.
Yeah. I think Wonder Woman's the closest you've had so far.
Wonder Woman, it's the closest one.
First one, because it does feel like they squandered this opportunity to, with all the good old boys talk, okay, here's your opportunity, and you didn't make a great film, and you could have, because there were so many talented people on board, and they just didn't do it. And they held on to this film for over a year. Like, quarantine had nothing to do with what went wrong here. It was ready in 2019. They just didn't release it.
All that build-up. It was worth it, wasn't it?
So worth the wait.
Golden armor that lost against an apex predator that isn't really an apex predator. It's good.
Yeah.
Oh, well. Wunderbar. Well, once again, Tonya, it has been fantastic speaking with you.
As well. And I'm glad we got to be here with Megan this time.
Yeah,
Yay.
Exactly. You weren't excluded, Megan, from the thing. And now you can see what we talk about. It's just literally Star Wars. That's what I mean. Star Wars and nerdy stuff. That's pretty much.
Comics.
Yeah. And Catwoman.
Making you one of us.
I haven't managed to convince her to read many comics yet. I'm trying. You're reading all the Harry Potter books at the moment.
I am currently rereading the Harry Potter books.
Yeah, okay. Don't you worry. And that's the end of the podcast. Hope you guys all enjoyed that as much as myself, Megan and Tonya did. As we spoke about, go check out Tonya's podcast, the 52 Love podcast. Each episode is only about 15 minutes or so they're really easy to digest. You can also check them out on YouTube. It's got full video. My shows on YouTube is just a visualizer showing the audio going up and down as well as the artwork, whereas Tonya's got like a full video experience with it, which is quite cool. And in addition to that, myself and Megan are on one of the episodes of 52 Love. I can't remember when it's exactly airing. I think it's in the next week or so. So if you subscribe to 52 Love, not only will it really help out Tonya Todd, but also eventually you'll hear the episode where me and Megan, we wrote poems for each other and we had to read them out. So that was interesting because we've not really done that before, and I don't know if people can gather, but I'm not the biggest poetry reader. So it was quite an interesting thing to do on that, and obviously when that comes out, I'll be sure to include links in the description and stuff, and I'll talk about it at the end in one of these little outro-y bits here, but yeah, stick around and check out that. So aside from that, I've got my other podcast, Star Wars Comics in Canon, that always airs on the Comics in Motion podcast. I'm slowly trying to add them all to YouTube, as well as all the episodes of Genuine Chit-Chat, just so everything is kind of in one place. But I'm about halfway through uploading to YouTube. I think I'm on about episode 19 I've uploaded to YouTube, and episode 41 came out yesterday. And yesterday being the 23rd of January. So you can kind of tell I am slowly kind of catching up to a degree. I need to do like 2 a week and then eventually I'll be caught up. But anyway, the Comics in Motion podcast network thing. So essentially their feed has a different show on every day of the week. There's Indie Comic Spotlight, Mandatory Marvel and DC, Superheroes for Dummies. There's What's the Topic? I'm now feeling like I have to name them all, but there's loads of them on there all about completely different things, and they are all fantastic in their own right. And I have appeared on a recent episode of Indie Comic Spotlight about the Lone Ranger, when myself and Tony spoke about the Mark Russell run of Lone Ranger comics, and I've been on Indie Comic Spotlight twice before to talk about 2 other Mark Russell comics, which was Second Coming and Billionaire Island, so check those out too. I was also on an episode of Mandatory Marvel and DC this week. The first time I showed up on that was when we spoke about the Killing Joke Batman/Joker comic, which is really interesting, or graphic novel, however you want to frame it. So this time we spoke about Death of the Family, where the Joker cuts his own face off and terrorizes the Bat family. So that's pretty mental. That's in the New 52. And then as well as that, I've also was on the 20th Century Geek podcast. 20th Century Geek is more of like a cousin of Comics in Motion, kind of like this show, Genuine Chit-Chat, is in a way. 20th Century Geek, I've had Scott Weatherly on my show a few times. He was on sort of late last year. I've been on Comics in Motion before. I was on Comics on Trial against Scott Weatherly, where we did the Phantom Menace. I was defending it and he was prosecuting it. A link to that's in the description. And also on the Star Wars sort of specials we did between 20th Century Geek, Comics in Motion and Genuine Chit-Chat, he was on there too. So we've had a lot of that interactions and things. And myself and Megan have appeared on his first episode of his big Batman retrospective. So it's going to be a 3 or maybe 4-parter, and we've recorded all 3 parts thus far. Essentially, the first part, which is the one that's out, that is myself, Megan, and Scott talk about Batman 66 and the 2 Burton Batman films, Batman 89 and Batman Returns. And so they're the Michael Keaton Batman films. And we had a good time doing them. Megan had never seen any of them. I'd seen them each once or twice in the past ages ago, so it was good for me to rewatch them, and obviously Scott's seen them several times. So really, really cool Batman retrospective. Then the next edition, which is going to be out in 2 weeks' time, part 2, we tackle the animated film Batman Mask of the Phantasm, and then we also tackle the 2 Joe Schumacher films, which was Batman and Robin and Batman Forever, which are not great. And then the third one, which we recorded recently, was the Dark Knight trilogy, Batman Begins, Dark Knight Rises. We enjoyed that thoroughly more, but that's going to be out 2 weeks after that as well. So loads of stuff with me involved to get your teeth into. I've included links to them in the description and things. And if you follow me on social media at Genuine Chit-Chat on Instagram, Twitter, and on Facebook, I normally do post when I'm in other podcasts and things. Instagram's where I'm most active. I post things there on my story fairly frequently about just random stuff I'm up to, food, my tortoise, or links to many of the episodes I either release or am guesting on. And then also on Instagram and Facebook, I post pictures of the comics that I tackle in Star Wars Comics in Canon, some of the covers, some of the interesting panels that I've seen and things like that. I also do generally post about when I've been guesting on other shows as well. So lots of things you can kind of get on there. I do post other random stuff on there too, like occasional film, movie or book reviews and whatnot. So there's a lot to get your teeth into. I keep saying that on my social media. And also I really appreciate anyone following me and stuff, and you can always reach out to me. My other show, Star Wars Comics in Canon, comes out every Saturday on the feed of Comics in Motion, and I tackle a different Star Wars comic each episode. I tackle either mini-series or arcs within ongoing bigger series or one-shots and things. I've recently tackled the Vader Dark Visions miniseries, which is really interesting because that is 5 individual stories about people interacting with Vader in different ways. One of them is a nurse on the Death Star who falls completely in love with Darth Vader and becomes obsessed with him. That's quite an interesting story. There's one about like an Imperial officer who gets driven mad by his fear of Darth Vader. There's one where this guy's running away from Darth Vader in the woods. He gets pricked by something hallucinogenic and has a bad hallucinogenic trip while Darth Vader is chasing him, which is horrendous. And each of these things I've mentioned, I've taken a photo from each of these individual comics, including what Darth Vader looks like at the end of the comic when he's chasing the guy who's hallucinating, and it is pretty terrifying. So, check those out on Instagram and things if you like that sort of Star Warsy nonsense, because I find it lots and lots of fun. But aside from that, that's really everything without me going on for too long. Thanks as always for checking me out, guys. I always appreciate everyone listening, especially all the way to the end. Give Tonya Todd some of your love. I never seem to ask Megan when she's on because I forget, but when she guests on other shows, she always mentions it. But she has an Instagram called Grits Gets Fit, GRITTS GETSFIT, Grits Gets Fit, and Grits with 2 T's because her name is Gritty. And you can check her out on Instagram. I occasionally pop up on there when she takes photos. It's normally of her doing runs and being motivational and losing weight and things, but also she takes photos of all the food she cooks, and it's amazing. So yeah, that's really what you guys should go check out. And if you've got any queries or questions, you can email me at genuinechitchat@outlook.com. All the ways to contact me are in the show notes and descriptions and things. And I just want to say thank you as always for tuning in, guys. Thank you as always for reaching out to me on social media and contacting my guests, saying how much you loved our conversations with them, because it does make a huge difference to them. My recent episode with IRONTOM, a few of you guys did that, and I really, really appreciate that too. So all the love and things from myself, from Megan as well, who's in the other room cooking me breakfast. So it's 2 p.m, so it's more of a brunch while I get this done. So shout out to her. And yeah, really appreciate you guys listening, and I'll talk to all of you next week.